A voice like hers wasn't supposed to disappear. For nearly 3 decades, Whitney Houston didn't just sing. She created moments the world would never forget. One note could silence an entire stadium. One performance could bring millions to tears. She wasn't simply a superstar. She was the voice. More than 200 million records sold. Countless awards. A Hollywood icon. America's sweetheart. It seemed she had everything anyone could ever dream of. But behind the dazzling smile, behind the standing ovations, behind the fame, a different story was unfolding. One filled with pressure, heartbreak, and demons no one could hear. Then came February 11, 2012. Inside a luxury hotel suite in Beverly Hills, the woman who had inspired generations was found motionless in a bathtub. She was only 48 years old. The world was left asking one heartbreaking question. How did the greatest voice of her generation fall silent? Was it fame? Was it love? Was it addiction? Or was the tragedy already taking shape long before the world ever heard her sing? Long before the sold-out arenas. Before the Grammy Awards. Before the world knew her name. Whitney Houston was simply a little girl called Nippy. She was born on August 9, 1963, in Newark, New Jersey, a city facing struggles and change. But inside the Houston household, there was something powerful enough to rise above it all. There was music. Her mother, Cissy Houston, was a respected gospel singer who performed with legends like Aretha Franklin and Elvis Presley. Her cousin, Dionne Warwick, was already an international star. For most children, growing up around music legends would feel extraordinary. For Whitney, it was normal. But no famous name could create what she had. That voice was hers alone. Every Sunday at New Hope Baptist Church, a young Whitney stood in the choir, eyes closed, pouring emotion into every note. People quickly noticed something different. She wasn't just copying the great singers who came before her. She had something special of her own. Her mother became her first teacher, teaching her that talent required discipline, faith, and hard work. Those gospel lessons would become the foundation of one of the greatest voices in music history. But talent wasn't enough. The Houston family wasn't wealthy, and Whitney learned early that success had to be earned. As a teenager, her beauty opened another door. She became a successful model while still chasing her true passion, music. Soon, she began singing backup for artists like Chaka Khan, learning the industry from behind the scenes. Then, in 1983, everything changed. At a New York nightclub, legendary music executive Clive Davis heard Whitney perform. He wasn't searching for the next superstar. But the moment Whitney began singing, he knew he had found something rare. Davis saw a once-in-a-generation talent and offered her a recording contract with Arista Records. It was the opportunity Whitney had dreamed of. Neither of them knew that this shy church girl from Newark was about to become one of the biggest stars the world had ever seen. But with unimaginable success would come unimaginable pressure. And the world had no idea what that pressure would eventually cost her. On February 14, 1985, Whitney Houston released her self-titled debut album. At first, it didn't explode overnight. It grew slowly. Then suddenly, it was everywhere. One hit followed another. You Give Good Love. Saving All My Love for You. How Will I Know? Greatest Love of All. Radio stations couldn't stop playing her. What started as a promising debut became a worldwide phenomenon. The album spent 14 weeks at number 1 and became the best-selling debut album by a solo artist at the time. But Whitney's success wasn't just about numbers. It was her voice. Powerful yet effortless. Flawless yet emotional. She didn't just sing songs. She made people feel them. Critics praised her as one of the greatest new voices of her generation. Fans gave her a title that would follow her forever. The Voice. Whitney also broke barriers. At a time when black women faced major obstacles in mainstream pop, she crossed over to every audience, dominating both MTV and radio while opening doors for countless artists who followed. Then, in 1987, she reached another level. Her second album, Whitney, became the first album by a woman to debut at #1 on the Billboard 200. It produced 4 more #1 singles, giving her an incredible 7 consecutive chart-topping hits, a record that still stands today. By now, Whitney was no longer just a successful singer. She was a global superstar. Tours sold out. Awards poured in. She became elegant, powerful, and beloved around the world. America's sweetheart. Then came the performance that defined a generation. In 1991, during Super Bowl 25, Whitney performed The Star-Spangled Banner as the nation faced the Gulf War. She didn't just sing the anthem. She transformed it. Her emotional performance united millions and became one of the most celebrated renditions in history, later becoming the only version of the anthem certified platinum. By the early 1990s, Whitney Houston had conquered music. She had broken records, inspired millions, and reached the very top of the world. But behind the applause, behind the fame, the pressure of carrying that success was quietly beginning to build. By the early 1990s, Whitney Houston had achieved what few artists in history ever could. She wasn't just topping charts. She was defining an era. Every performance became an event. Every song reminded the world why millions called her the Voice. It seemed there was nothing Whitney couldn't do. Then Hollywood came calling. In 1992, she made her acting debut opposite Kevin Costner in The Bodyguard. Many critics questioned whether a singer could become a successful movie star. Whitney proved them wrong. The film became a worldwide phenomenon, earning more than $410 million at the box office. But the music became even bigger. When Whitney recorded I Will Always Love You, originally written by Dolly Parton, she transformed it into one of the most unforgettable songs in history. That powerful opening, the emotional build, and the legendary final note created a moment the world would never forget. The song spent 14 weeks at #1 on the Billboard Hot 100, while the Bodyguard soundtrack sold more than 45 million copies, becoming the best-selling soundtrack album of all time. Whitney Houston wasn't just making hits anymore. She was making history. She followed with films like Waiting to Exhale and The Preacher's Wife, while also becoming a producer and expanding her influence beyond music. The industry recognized her value, offering her a $100 million recording contract with Arista Records, one of the biggest deals ever at the time. Awards followed. Tours sold out. Millions admired her style, her elegance, and her voice. To a new generation of singers, Whitney wasn't just an inspiration. She was the standard. She broke barriers for black women in entertainment, proving that talent could cross every boundary and reach audiences around the world. From the outside, Whitney Houston had everything: fame, success, wealth, a loving family, the admiration of millions. She had reached the very top. But the higher a star rises, the more dangerous the fall can become. Behind the cameras, behind the applause, and behind the perfect image the world saw, Whitney was carrying pressures that success alone could not erase. The world saw a queen. But beneath the crown, the first cracks were beginning to appear. At the height of her success, when Whitney Houston seemed to have everything, she made a decision that would change her personal life forever. In 1992, she married Bobby Brown, the charismatic and rebellious star of New Edition. To many fans, the relationship was unexpected. Whitney was America's sweetheart. Elegant, graceful, the image of perfection. Bobby was outspoken, unpredictable, and known as music's bad boy. The media questioned what she saw in him. But Whitney wasn't looking for another superstar. She wanted someone who loved the woman behind the fame. In 1993, they welcomed their daughter, Bobby Christina Brown. For a while, it seemed Whitney had found the family life she always wanted. But behind the scenes, the fairy tale began to fall apart. Their marriage became constant tabloid news. Arguments, rumors, public struggles. The private pain of two famous people became entertainment for the world. As the pressure of fame grew heavier, Whitney struggled to escape. She later admitted that drugs had become part of her life. What started casually slowly became something much harder to control. Cocaine, marijuana, prescription medication. The voice that had once seemed untouchable began to show the effects. Years of touring, recording, performing, and personal struggles took their toll. Her performances became unpredictable. Her energy faded. And fans began noticing that something had changed. The woman who once commanded every stage now appeared fragile in public. Interviews became uncomfortable. The media turned her struggles into headlines and jokes. Her famous response, "Crack is whack," became a phrase people repeated, but behind those words was a woman trying to defend herself while fighting a painful battle. The pressure of fame. The demands of being perfect. A troubled marriage. And an addiction that was becoming harder to overcome. By the early 2000s, the cracks could no longer be hidden. Her 2002 album Just Whitney received mixed reactions and failed to match the success of her earlier work. For the first time in her career, the world wasn't asking how great Whitney Houston's voice was. It was asking what had happened to it. And sadly, her most difficult chapter was still ahead. By 2007, after nearly 15 years of turmoil, Whitney Houston's marriage to Bobby Brown was over. She filed for divorce, hoping it would mark a new beginning. For the first time in years, there was hope. She entered rehabilitation, surrounded herself with family, and set out to reclaim the life that addiction had slowly taken from her. The world wanted Whitney back. And for a moment, it seemed possible. In 2009, she released I Look to You, her first studio album in 7 years. The album debuted at #1 on the Billboard 200. Fans celebrated. Critics welcomed her return. It looked as though one of music's greatest comeback stories was finally unfolding. But behind the headlines, the battle wasn't over. Years of addiction, emotional pain, and relentless pressure had left deep scars. Her voice, the instrument that had once seemed almost supernatural, had changed. The incredible range was still there in flashes. The emotion remained undeniable. But the effortless power that had defined an entire generation was becoming harder to find. Live performances became unpredictable. Some nights, audiences caught glimpses of the old Whitney. Other nights, they witnessed a woman still fighting to overcome years of damage. It was heartbreaking to watch. Not because Whitney had lost her talent, but because everyone remembered just how extraordinary she had once been. Friends, family, and those closest to her continued to hope she would find lasting peace. Whitney herself never stopped trying. She fought addiction. She fought heartbreak. She fought the impossible weight of living up to the legend the world expected her to be. But some battles cannot be won overnight. The pressures of fame, the pain she carried, and the addictions she struggled to overcome proved relentless. No amount of money, no record-breaking contract, and no standing ovation could silence the storms she was facing within. As the music industry prepared for another Grammy weekend in February 2012, Whitney Houston was once again in Beverly Hills. Few realized the world was about to lose one of its brightest stars forever. On February 11, 2012, the world lost a voice it believed would never go silent. Just one day before the Grammy Awards, Whitney Houston was found dead at the Beverly Hilton Hotel in California. She was only 48 years old. The official report listed accidental drowning, with heart disease and cocaine use as contributing factors. But beyond the headlines, millions felt something much deeper. They had lost the soundtrack to their lives. The little girl from Newark who sang in a church choir. The woman who could bring stadiums to silence with one note. The artist who inspired generations was gone. At the Grammy Awards that same week, Jennifer Hudson honored Whitney with a powerful performance of "I Will Always Love You." The world wasn't just mourning a singer. It was mourning a piece of music history. But Whitney Houston's story did not end in that hotel room. Because some voices are too powerful to disappear. She sold more than 200 million records worldwide and inspired generations of artists, from Mariah Carey to Beyoncé and Ariana Grande. She didn't just break records. She broke barriers. She showed millions of young artists, especially young black women, that they could stand on the world's biggest stages and be celebrated for their talent. Her vocal style became a blueprint. Her performances became legendary. Her songs became memories connected to love, heartbreak, celebration, and hope. But Whitney's greatest lesson was not about perfection. It was about being human. Her life showed both the incredible heights of fame and the heavy price that can come with it. Behind the awards and applause was a woman who experienced love, pain, joy, struggle, and hope. A daughter. A mother. A person searching for peace while the world watched. Whitney Houston rose from a church choir in Newark to become one of the greatest entertainers in history. She carried burdens many never saw. But she gave the world a gift that could never be taken away. Her voice. Every time someone hears "Greatest Love of All," every time "I Will Always Love You" fills the room. Whitney Houston lives again. She wasn't remembered because she was perfect. She was remembered because she was extraordinary. She was the voice. And even after the music stopped, her voice continues to echo. If you enjoyed this story, subscribe and turn on notifications. Next we'll cover another ruler, who tasted both glory and total destruction. Comment below. Who should we do next?